The savage killing of Keith Dardeen, his pregnant wife Elaine, and their 3-year-old son Peter left law enforcement baffled. Investigators pursued numerous leads and even had a confession, but they never came to a conclusion about what had really happened to the family. It was a case that would remain a mystery after the family had an encounter with a monster. Russell Keith and Ruby Elaine Dardeen, who both went by their middle names, started their journey together with their marriage in August of 1979 in Albion, Illinois. The 29 and 30-year-old couple created a simple yet meaningful life that revolved around family, work, and community service. Keith grew up in Mount Carmel and worked as a treatment plant operator at the Rend Lake Water Conservancy District, while Elaine worked at an office supply store in Mount Vernon. The couple shared their musical talents at their local Baptist church. Keith led the congregation with his vocals and Elaine played the piano. Peter Sean Dardeen joined the family on July 5, 1984. The Dardeens looked forward to welcoming their second child in 1987, a daughter they had planned to name Casey. Keith purchased a beige and white mobile home in 1986 where the family planned to settle down. The property was nestled among woodland beside Route 37, just outside Ina, Illinois. A rail line ran directly next to the road right across the street from their property. They were only there for about a year before safety concerns in their community drove the Dardeen family's decision to relocate. Jefferson County faced a frightening increase in violent crime that included 15 homicides over the previous several years. Keith grew increasingly worried about his family's safety and managed to keep a protective watch over them. Reality supported their fears. Several violent incidents had shaken the region, including the shocking case of 18-year-old Thomas Odell, who murdered his family in Mount Vernon in 1985. A 10-year-old girl had also been sexually assaulted and murdered as well. Keith deeply regretted moving to Ina and shared his thoughts with his mother, Joanne Dardeen. He told her he wanted to return to Mount Carmel even if that meant leaving without a new job lined up. The Dardeens put their mobile home up for sale in late 1987. They wanted their children to grow up in a safer environment. Their second child's upcoming arrival added more urgency to find a secure home for their expanding family. Something unusual happened at the Ina, Illinois water treatment plant on the morning of November 18, 1987. Keith, a reliable employee, missed his scheduled work shift. His absence raised concerns because he hadn't notified his supervisor and nobody could reach him at home despite multiple attempts throughout the day. Keith's supervisor became worried and reached out to his parents in Mount Carmel. They couldn't explain their son's absence, which raised serious concerns about the family's welfare. Keith's father, Don Dardeen, reached out to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and made plans to meet deputies at his son's mobile home with a spare key. Law enforcement officers walked into a scene of unimaginable violence at the mobile home. They found 3 victims on a waterbed, tucked in like they had been put to sleep. Elaine, bound and gagged with duct tape, Peter, their 3-year-old son, and a newborn baby girl delivered during the attack. The brutality of the crime shocked even seasoned investigators. Elaine's severe beating had forced her into labor. When a pregnant woman experiences extreme trauma, her body can induce labor as a last-ditch effort to save the baby. If the trauma is severe enough to kill the woman, the baby could have a better chance of survival being outside of the womb. That was the case here, and the infant hadn't died due to being premature. Elaine was 7 months along, and that was enough time for a child still in the womb to become viable on its own if they are born premature. The baby had died because the assailant had killed the newborn moments after her birth. The killer used Peter's baseball bat, a birthday gift from his father that year, as the murder weapon. Investigators determined those horrific events happened just 1 day before they found the bodies. The first thing that investigators noted was the absence of Keith. His whole family was dead and he and his car were gone, making him the prime suspect. The family's red 1981 Plymouth was nowhere to be found, but Keith's truck sat parked outside their trailer. The investigation took a turn when officers found Keith's car abandoned 11 miles or 18 kilometers away near the Benton Police Department 7 hours into their investigation. It was a show of brazen confidence to park the car right outside the police station, which was also right next door to the Benton County Courthouse. The vehicle contained blood evidence that would later become crucial to the case. It led investigators to believe that Keith had been shot and/or mutilated inside the car. Investigators now faced the challenge to trace the family's final movements and find witnesses who might have seen them alive. The case became one of Illinois' most baffling mysteries. A complex web of evidence challenged investigators for decades in the Dardeen family murder case. The investigation brought together 30 detectives from local police agencies and the Illinois State Police who conducted interviews with more than 100 people during the original phase. The crime scene analysis showed several significant elements. The residents had no sign of forced entry and the family home remained untouched with nothing missing. It also looked like someone took time to clean up the scene. The following day, hunters found Keith's body in a wheat field near Rend Lake College, about a mile or 1.6 kilometers from the family's home, which changed the investigation's directions dramatically. He had been shot 3 times and his penis had been cut off. A precise timeline emerged from the forensic examination. The coroner's report showed that each family member died within an hour of each other. The bodies in the trailer were 12 hours old when someone found them, while Keith's body was 24 to 36 hours old when hunters spotted it. The crime scene's organized nature worried the investigators. Jefferson County's former detective David Anthus highlighted the case's unusual nature, saying, quote, "You have a family that's been completely wiped out with no immediate or direct motive." The perpetrator showed no rush to leave the scene and took time to position the victims and clean up afterward. Captain Burge gave an explanation about their system to track every detail as new leads emerged. The leads were all systematically numbered and cataloged, which showed how well organized the investigation was. Detectives pursued several distinct theories while exploring multiple angles of the investigation. The police looked into various possibilities like marital infidelity, drug involvement, gambling connections, and maybe even devil worship. Due to the savagery of the attack, rumors began to spread that a satanic cult might have been responsible. Investigators found a small amount of marijuana in the trailer, but not enough to indicate drug dealing. The presence of sports betting papers raised questions about gambling debts, but valuable items like jewelry, cash, and electronics remained untouched despite being in plain sight. It seemed like someone angry about debt would take something to try to recoup their money. After investigating the possible angles, investigators ruled out drugs, gambling, infidelity, and even Satanists. The Franklin County coroner insisted this wasn't a random act and it looked like, quote, a very personal, carefully planned thing. Keith's mother, Joanne, had her own ideas and thought either drug-related pressure or rejected romantic advances might have sparked the violence. The fact that Keith had his genitals mutilated definitely indicated a very personal sexual motivation, but no information that would match that was ever found in the Dardeens' personal lives. Keith's best friend said that he believed that someone wanted him to do something and he refused, which they retaliated for. The brutal crime shocked the community and changed daily life drastically. Residents started carrying shotguns openly in their vehicles. Students stayed inside school buildings after events instead of gathering outside. Parents walked their children to and from vehicles in parking lots. Jefferson County faced a troubling time as homicide rates had risen sharply over the previous 2 years. After the murder of the Dardeen family, fear and rumors spread quickly throughout the community. Through the 90s, investigators thought the family might have been the victim of the railroad killer who had been killing people who lived near railroad tracks as early as 1986. He had traveled all over the U.S. and either shot or beat his victims to death, which matched the Dardeen family. Angel Reséndiz would end up turning himself in to Texas Rangers on July 12, 1999, and after an investigation, authorities were not able to connect him to the case. I did an episode about the railroad killer a few years ago. A link is in the description. A breakthrough happened in December of 1999 when serial killer Tommy Lynn Sells was arrested, like Angel Reséndiz, in Texas. He was convicted of the murder of one young girl and the attempted murder of another, and after he was in prison, he started confessing to other murders. One of the crimes he admitted to was the murders of the Dardeen family. Tommy said he met Keith at a truck stop, but later changed his story to say they had met at a pool hall. He changed his story again and claimed he was invited to the Dardeen home for dinner. In that version of his confession, he said he became enraged when Keith propositioned him to have a threesome with him and his wife. Investigators questioned Tommy's confession because his first description of the crime scene had incorrect details. He fixed his answers only after being prompted by detectives. In a different story, Tommy claimed that he had never previously met the Dardeens. He had been on a freight train and hopped off near their trailer after seeing the for sale sign. He said he went to the front door and told Keith that he wanted to buy their home. In that version, he said he had sexually assaulted Elaine, but the medical examiner had found no evidence of that. He gave incorrect answers when he was asked how Elaine's body was positioned and in which seat of the car Keith was in when he was shot. Tommy eventually said that Keith was involved in a massive drug conspiracy, but couldn't give any details about how or why the church-singing father became involved. The Jefferson County State's attorney refused to charge Tommy Sells despite early optimism about solving the case. There were too many differences between his story and the known facts. Tommy Sells was executed in 2014, 14 years after his confession. Detective Bobby Wallace took over the huge case file and suggested two likely scenarios. Either someone was sending a clear message to somebody, or it was very personal. The case stays active as investigators now focus on DNA testing items from the crime scene. There are some who believe Tommy Sells and think he killed the Dardeen family, but it seems like a majority don't. Tommy had confessed to a number of crimes that he wasn't able to be linked to, and many believe he was using the confessions to try and work the system. Despite being a suspect, his changing story about the murder of the Dardeens was questionable enough for the state attorney to not prosecute the crime, and the case remains unsolved. These murders represent a tragic chapter in Illinois criminal history and show how unsolved violent crimes continue to affect American communities deeply. Not only is the Dardeen family's killer unknown, so is the reason for their murder. Was there an illicit affair going on? Was Keith really involved in a massive drug operation? Or was it a purely random murder? It's something we may never know. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave us a comment. You can check out our other show, Somewhere Sinister, on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.